The streets of New York have erupted in an all-out war, and no one is safe. Casey, April, Odyn, Yi, Moja, and Uno are all in the crosshairs. Will everyone make it out alive? The answer is going to be no. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin 2, Re-Evolution, issue number 5. This is actually the last issue of this miniseries. And no, not everyone makes it out alive. One of the main characters gets killed. Who is it? Well, you're just going to have to wait and see. So we start off this issue with the aftermath of the last issue, where there was like a huge gang war between two different rival gangs, and the Turtles got involved and yada yada yada. And we have Amanda, the reporter, basically just talking on the news about how when two gangs go to war, it's always the innocent who suffer. We can like skip most of this. In fact, a lot of this issue, I would say, is pretty boring. It picks up later on, but like the first half is a lot of dialogue. Like here's just one example. It almost feels like I'm reading a novel. Like it literally took me like, I don't know, 15 minutes just to get through this entire issue. It's too much dialogue, and it can all be condensed very, very quickly. It's pretty much just the Resistance. You know, they lost their base in the last issue. They have a new base on Roosevelt Island, and they're just basically talking about what they're going to do next, how they need to get more supplies, how they need to get more weapons, things like that. But we can skip a bunch of that stuff. We have the Turtles, and they're chatting. We can even skip a bunch of this too. It's basically just what I told you. It's just the aftermath and all that jazz. So we'll skip all that. We're going to cut to the dock where we have the leader of the Purple Dragons, and his name is Jigsaw. And Jigsaw is going to commandeer this boat. And basically he knows that Roosevelt Island is where the Resistance are. He wants revenge against the Turtles, and he decides that we're going to attack the island. But first, we need to set up a diversion. We need to set up a diversion to cover us while we go after those mutants. So he basically makes a call to the Crusaders. That's what I'm calling them. It's basically a gang with a bunch of Crusade symbols on them. And he's going to have the Crusaders attack the island. And while the Resistance is focused on them, him and his group are going to sneak in. So we have all the Turtles and Casey and April dead, and as well as a bunch of Resistance soldiers and scientists and stuff like that. And it turns out that this is a bad nightmare, but Moja thinks that it might actually be a vision. And so she's like, we got to warn Grandma and everybody. And as Moja is trying to convince her brothers and sisters that we got to warn them, that's when they get attacked. And we have this like funny moment where the Crusaders are attacking, the Resistance group is shooting at them. And the Resistance, they have like swords and shields and stuff like that. There might be like one or two people with guns, but you can see the majority of them are just using medieval weapons. And yet, when we cut back to the base, we have one of the main leaders of the Resistance telling Casey that the perimeter team's engaging, but they're too outgunned to hold them off for long. I'm like, outgunned? They have swords and shields, and you have machine guns and grenades and stuff. How is this you being outgunned? Just blow them up. Toss some grenades and you're going to get a bunch of them. Just shoot them. Only a couple of them have guns. The majority of them have swords and shields. How are you outgunned? But yeah, Casey's like, all right, well, I'm going to go up top and I'm going to help them. I'm going to bring some more members. Meanwhile, I want the Turtles to stay here with April, because April is going to be, they're going to be doing something with this giant computer, and the scientists in April need to be protected. So the Turtles, I want you to stay here and protect Grandma. So Casey goes up and starts fighting. And as all this is happening, the Purple Dragons, there's only 7 of them. They start sneaking into the building, and they're able to make their way inside, which begs the question of how they were able to do that. Why didn't the Crusaders just do that as well? Like, I get creating the diversion, but it would have also helped if you had shown them sneaking into the island. Like, how exactly did they get into the island on a dingy little boat? Just because one side of the island is being attacked doesn't mean that the other side is going to be completely unguarded, especially since there's cameras and stuff on this island. So yeah, how he was able to sneak in, I have no idea. But anyways, they get quickly found out, and his men basically get gunned down. And as his men are getting gunned down and fighting, Jigsaw uses his arm to break through, and he's basically going to use his men as like sacrifices so he can sneak in further. And then that's when the Foot Clan show up. Turns out that the Foot Clan's not dead. They're alive, of course. And they decide to go on a blitz ring. And they just start slaughtering everybody. They appear on Roosevelt Island and they start slaughtering the Resistance as well as the Crusaders. They start slaughtering the Purple Dragons and all the other street gangs and their leaders back in the city. They start attacking like hospitals. They start attacking the police. They go and kill the mayor and police chief and stuff. Like they're pretty much taking over the city by slaughtering everybody. And it works. They have no resistance against them. So they're just indiscriminately slaughtering a bunch of people. Meanwhile, back at Roosevelt Islands, the turtles start battling the Foot Clan that are showing up. And then there's like this explosion, and Jigsaw goes and attacks April and basically says, "Where are the turtles?" Meanwhile, back up on top of the island, we have Casey attacking the Foot Clan. So, yeah, we get like one brief page of Mikey in a flashback. And he's basically talking about Clan Hamato. And Clan Hamato actually shows up. And they start attacking the Foot Clan and start trying to protect the resistance group. And they're able to save Casey. And back with Jigsaw, he is choking the hell out of April, demanding to know where the mutants are. April rips out one of his eyes. And that's when he's like, you know what? I was going to leave you alive. And I was even going to take the mutants alive and deliver them to Carterton. But now I'm just going to kill every last one of you. And spoiler alerts, Jigsaw grabs a gun and he shoots April in the chest. And then he's quickly killed by Honeycut. And then April dies in Casey's arms. So that's that. April is dead. Now the only person left from the original cast is Honeycut. Everyone's dead. Casey's dead. April's dead. The OG turtles are dead. Everyone from back then is dead. Only Honeycut is still alive. And he's the only OG character left in this series. And yeah, that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Last Ronin 2 Re-Evolution issue number 5. That's how it ends. Obviously, there's going to be a follow-up. I don't think there should. But I also don't think that there should have been a Last Ronin 2. I think Last Ronin should have just been a miniseries that ended with Mikey dying. And that should have been it. We should have stopped. But because that series was so successful, now we got to just continue milking this franchise. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I love The Last Ronin. Not a fan of any of the follow-ups, spin-offs, prequel, sequels, any of that stuff. Not a fan of them killing off everybody. Like it worked as just a little mini-series. You know, this is like the death of the turtles. This is how it all goes and stuff like that. And then you just end it there. And that could just be like, you know, a what if. This can be a what if that's not connected to anything. And you could just appreciate it for that. But to try to continue the Turtle series without the OG Turtles, I already had a huge problem with that. Now you basically, you got no original character except for Honeycut. So, whatever. With that said, I think this issue was actually the best issue in the series. For all my faults that I have with this run so far, I think this one actually, it ended on a better note. Like, it ended up on a higher note. I think the first half of the issue is just kind of pointless. It's a lot of dialogue. And I guess it does kind of help set up what's going on. But it could have been done a lot more quicker. I think there's just way too much dialogue to convey a message that could be done in a couple of panels. So it's one of those where it's like you're saying a lot of words, but you're not saying much of anything. That's kind of how I feel about the first half of the issue. A lot of dialogue, a lot of stuff, but none of it is all that meaningful. But then the second half really picks up. Like once we get the invasion on the island, I think that's when this series actually picks up and gets good. And I like the final battle. I like the action scenes. I think the way that it was done was kind of cool, with the Crusades attacking the Resistance, and then the Foot Clan show up and start slaughtering everyone, and then the Hamato Clan show up. I do think, again, it's just funny that the Resistance were being outgunned by a bunch of people with swords and shields. And I know. Some of the Crusaders had guns. But if you actually look at the panels, the majority of them have swords and shields. Only like a few of them have guns. Meanwhile, all the Resistance group have guns. I just thought that was just funny. Yeah, April's dead. I'll be honest, this didn't really impact me all that much, April's death. It didn't impact me as much as all the other characters did. Which is sad, because April's a really good character. Like, I like April in the OG run. I like April in almost every iteration other than the Last Ronin. I don't care for April in the Last Ronin. And it's not just like her visual design, but just her character. Like, she comes across as a completely different person that just has the April name. It doesn't really feel like April. So when she dies, I don't really care because it's pretty much April in name only. But yeah, April's dead. That's how this series ends. All in all, I don't care for this. Again, I think the first half is terrible and boring. Second half was a lot better, but one half of an issue in a 5-issue miniseries, no matter how good that final half is, it can't save the rest of the miniseries. And the rest of the miniseries has been pretty terrible, in my opinion. So, all in all, I think this was a terrible run, and it really should have just died with Mikey. That's been my message for every video that I've done for this run. It should have died with Mikey. Last Ronin should have just ended as a one miniseries run, and that's it. But no, we're gonna keep milking this franchise. So yeah, hope you enjoy the video. Hope to see you next time. Take care. Later. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I still want to thank you for watching it this far, and I hope the next one is more to your liking. With that said, thank you once again, and I hope you guys and gals have a good one. Later.